In this job, it is really helpful to be able to flip your personality over depending on what part of the transaction you're in. Well, hi there. My name is Charles Ray Dawson. I'm an Associate Broker, Residential Sales Manager at ProStar Realty. This is the Unnamed Real Estate Podcast, episode 264. Hope you guys are doing all right. So I can tell you straight up that my laptop is acting wonky this morning, and I'm starting to get that stutter effect on my playback. So hopefully this is going to work out. Hopefully we don't have any technical difficulties. Hopefully everything goes as according to plan, but it never does. And that's why we embrace the mantra Semper Gumby, always flexible, because you have no idea what's going on in the next 5 minutes. But you can take control over your life, including I actually just put my phone on Do Not Disturb, right? Because I really want to get this out in one shot. So we'll see what happens. Hope everybody's having a good week and a good weekend. It's been exciting times over here at ProStar Realty. It is really absolutely amazing watching a certain percentage of this office just like balls to the wall. Everything's going on. Phone calls, this and that and the other thing. Multiple offers on multiple properties, all dealing with it. And then we got a lot of people just like wandering around trying to, I don't know what's going on. I can't find any work. It's like, well, because you weren't doing anything back in October and you weren't doing anything back in November. You decided to take the holidays off, and now we're sitting here and we're in the spring fling, and everybody's rocking and rolling, except for the people who weren't basically getting ready to hunt. So that's a little rant of the morning so far. So what else we got going on? We're having a really good time right now. Okay. The interest rate dropped under 6 for like a brief second there. And a whole bunch of alerts went out through the intranets. And a whole bunch of lenders called up and a whole bunch of agents called their people up and said, well, give me a call when it drops before 6. And they called them up and said, hey, it's there. And then the next day it bounced back up. But we're playing with the sub-6s right now. In fact, you can get a pre-qual letter out there with not a lot of money down to buy down your rate, especially if you got a decent credit score, where you can't get a high 5 loan. In fact, I got a pre-qual at 5 1/8, and I know that lender. Now I'm on the seller's side, so I'm getting this from the buyer's agent. I'm like, wow, 5 1/8, that's a really aggressive rate. Found out, ultimately that the buyer is trying to buy their rate down to that, which gives me a little bit of concern on the seller side. And that's really what I wanted to talk about today is I am in a position right now where I'm working 2 deals at the same time, which is a great place to be. And on one side I'm playing offense and the other side I'm playing defense. All right. On the defense side, I have a listing. All right. We got that out there. We've been going this roundabout with this buyer who, honestly, this is great. We're here. She comes in here. Okay. We're like, nah, dog, here. And she comes up like that. And we just tell her, no, we're done. Don't want to continue this conversation. All right. Just like a straight up is like, so many people think that negotiation is this, we're going to throw this incredibly low offer out there just to start the conversation. And then you're going to come down and meet us a certain way. And then we're going to come up and then you're going to come down and this and that until we finally hash it out. It's not how the world works in reality. That's what you get off of Hollywood. Right. Hollywood says, oh, yeah, next thing you know, we're renting clothes and you're taking the food from my children's mouths, and that kind of crap. All right. In reality, my client has what she needs out of the deal. The buyer has what they need out of the deal. And we're negotiating the overlap. All right. We're trying to identify what the other person's overlap is. We have given strong signals up into and including, hey, don't do this. You're pissing her off. And then that agent goes over to her or to his side and There's one person out of this couple trying to buy this house, and she's driving it. She's driving the bus, and she's just, she's like, oh, well, we'll come up another $5,000. You are 70 under. 70 under. Okay, and you think coming up 5 is going to make everything better? No. No. So, and that's that side. So they came back. All right, we told them no. Go away. We're done messing with you. Week later, there they are again, knocking on the door, Hey, we're still sort of interested in your house. Okay. Write us an offer. You remember what our counter was? That's an accepted offer right there. You want this house? Write us that. They didn't. They came up, a bit. And the other thing is like they're always, it's funny. This is like the anniversary. Yesterday was the anniversary of the Elements of an Offer, all right, which was one of the very early ones I did. Talking about it's not just the price. It's not just a price. It's concessions. It's this. It's condition. There's closing dates. All these things. So when we counter you back, we're signaling where, our information that you can look at. Hey, you know what? They came down on the price, right? But they also came back on the closing costs, and they move, the closing date to a more advantageous date to them. Right? If I know you want a certain closing date and my clients don't care about the closing date, I just pocket that. I put that off to the side. Everything that we come across, we're always giving you that because it's an easy give. All right? But so I wound up calling the agent up on the other side and like, hey, agent, dude, WTF. All right? And trying to identify what their needs and wants are. I'm like, what's more important to you? The closing costs assistance from the seller or the sales price? And he tells me. Not in a round, not just straight up, but in a roundabout way. What are you going to do with that? Oh, I'm like, hey, that number's really high. What are you planning on doing with it? Oh, buy down the rate. Okay, so you want us to buy down, you want us to pay for your side buying down the rate. All right. And you just said that's number one. The rate. They're chasing the rate. Which is silly, because you date the rate, you marry the house. All right, this person's got it, upside down. But that's neither here nor there. So we kick it back and forth and whatnot. And I said, yeah, send us off and over. And sure enough, it's just, Anyways, so our counter offer to that is out this morning. I was 8:30 this morning talking to my, my client. And my partner on this one, Jessica, and we hashed it out. Counter's out. Let's see what happens with it. Now, on the flip side, okay, and this is what I mean. You got to be able to flip in your head. Okay, I'm on this file. I'm on this side. Now I'm playing offense. All right, got a house under contract. Get the inspection done. Roof shot. Just no. All right, and this is from a trusted roofer that I know, and he comes back and he's got the pictures. This is what's going on with this roof. This is how long this roof was supposed to last when it was built. This is how much time has passed. We are outside of the time that roof should have been replaced. Bad roof. Right? And I'm not saying it's a bad roof like the ceiling's collapsing in the living room or anything like that yet. But they've already had one roof leak. All right? That's a big sign right there. When you start getting the roof leaks, unless that house and that roof has just been put on the last couple of years and that's your first really good storm, and then maybe it wasn't put together right, once that roof is solid and is holding up, short of tree damage, planes crashing through, whatever the hell can happen to it, right? You have your little clock's starting. This is Arizona. We got this thing called the sun, and this thing beams out things called ultraviolet radiation. Violet, not violent. Okay, but it feels like it, when you're out there in August. You literally feel like you're getting beat down by the sun. All right. And it will degrade roofs to the point where you need to put a new one on. Other states, they have things like ice and this and that and the other thing. We have two things, sun and wind. Those are the two big things that will screw a roof up down here. So, and she's already come up and said, hey, yeah, I had to have some roof work done up in the kitchen area or dining room area. Right? So we get to home, we actually do the roofer, not just regular home inspector. And he comes back and he's got pretty detailed. We're talking pictures, this, that, and the other thing. He's calling out, hey, this kind of underlayment was made by this company. These kind of tiles are made by this company. That kind of stuff. All right. And I call the agent up. I send the roof inspection over to her. And I give her an hour, talk to my guys, and a couple other phone calls. I call her up, and I'm like, hey, roof needs to be replaced. It's at the end of life. And she's like, I'm not paying for a new roof. All right. Now, it's funny is because the agent is also the owner of this property. So I'm dealing with the owner directly, but they are a licensed real estate agent. All right. So I don't have to treat her like a rando civilian out there. All right. So I'm like, okay. And we do one of those big long pauses. Like we're each waiting for the other person to talk. All right. And she's good. All right. I broke the silence. And so I said, how about we do this? My clients aren't interested in buying a house with a bad roof. They don't want to have to put a roof on first thing as soon as they buy the house. If you disagree with this roofer's findings, all right, go through the report, take a look at it yourself. All right, if you disagree with this roofer's findings, call your roofer up who did the repairs in November. Have them come out and inspect the roof and give us the same level of inspection our roofer did. All right. And see what he says. And if you can get your roofer to come back with us with the same photos and the same photos showing the level of inspection that happened, and if he's willing to sign off on that and say, yeah, we're good. I don't know what this other guy's thinking. I did exactly the same tests, and the underlayment did not split when I did that test. See, here's my picture of me doing the test. We're good. I'll take this to my buyer, and I'll say, hey, we got two competing reviews of your roof, right? Which one do you want to go with? Which one do you trust more? And she said, well, I'll send that over to him. And I'm like, okay, but let's, we got a day or two, see what you can do on that. All right, I'll go talk to my clients. All right, and that ended the conversation. And then next thing you know, she goes from, I'm not paying for a new roof, to, oh, I have a quote for a roof. Right, from her previous roofing company. No inspection, just a quote for what they're willing to do the repairs at. Okay, about $1,000 less than my guy's quote. Saying it's better material too, so that's interesting. But yeah, okay, she doesn't say. So I look at it and I give her a call during dinner, of course. And I'm like, hey, I got that. I'm going to print them up. I'm going to review them both and talk over to my clients. And she goes, great. Well, just let you know, when I accepted your offer, I assumed your lower price was because of the roof. Now, hear me out. She never declared that it was a bad roof. All right. And now she's trying to jump in her TARDIS, go back in time and say, oh, no, I accepted that offer because I assumed you knew there was a roof and that there was, and that leads a whole bunch of great questions. I like the lady and she's doing her game over there. But, I replied back to her was like, yeah, well, we actually gave you the lower offer because of the pool and the decking. All right. Because the pool needs resurfacing and the cool decking needs to be replaced. So that's what we were thinking when we offered you the lower price. And my clients are willing to take that that expense on, right? Because that's something they can get a couple more years of enjoyment out of the pool before they have to drop money into that. Now it's suddenly roof things. So yeah, if you thought we were talking about the roof, well, we didn't know the condition of the roof until after the inspector came back and said it was bad. Because we hadn't seen the spuds yet. You could have said, hey, roof replaced in 25, or boom, awesome, glory. Right. And that's one of the things that people keep forgetting is that offer that comes over to you is based on the information that the person has at the moment they're writing the offer. The inspection allows them to find the other things that wasn't readily available to them while they were writing the offer. We don't go on roofs when we look at houses. We have inspectors and roofers for that. Okay, I can look at a roof. I can look at a bad roof, the one that's missing shingles, but when we're talking tile, it's a completely different thing. I'm looking at that roof. I'm not seeing the broken tiles until you get up on the roof and look at them at a different angle, and then there's like 20 of them up there. So, but it all depends on where you're at and what your location's at and what's the market doing. I got one house in Glendale, Peoria border. This house that we're talking about with the roof is over in Mesa. 2 different markets. All right. And that's a great segue into our numbers. Let's do the numbers real quick and I'll explain to you how this ties in. So, this is the Unnamed Real Estate Podcast, and like I said, computer is acting weird today. So, numbers for February 25th, 2026. Our actives this week are 24,979, down 82 from the previous week. Our new listings are 2,352, down 154. Contracts last week were 2,838, up 226, and our closings were 1,545. Coming soon to an MLS near you is 697 new listings. Just wanted to point out that coming soon has been dropping. All right, just like the actives. We topped over 25, and now we're starting to come down. And the new listings have also dropping. That's like the second week in a row. The faucet is starting to tighten down. Ooh, this is all that properties, the big spring fling. This is what we got going on here. Now, looking at the Cromford Report numbers, that means our supply has gone up to 101.8. All right, our demand actually ticked up a little bit to 85, but because of the ratios, we actually dropped a little bit on the Cromford number to 83.4. Still technically buyer's market. But real estate is all about location. So let's check out our locations going on over here. All right. Chandler is still leading the pack, even though they are dropping. Okay. They're at 147.6. All right. And then rounding up the rest of what we consider a seller's market. Okay. And this is fun. I got a little story about this. Chandler, Gilbert, Fountain Hills, Phoenix, Cave Creek, Mesa, Scottsdale, Glendale, Tempe, Paradise Valley. These are all sellers markets. That property that I have on the border, all right, of Glendale and Phoenix is a seller's market, and we have time on our hands. We do not have to accept this particular offer. We're not, oh my God, we got to get this done. Now here's the fun one. All right, we look in Mesa. That is also a seller's market. All right, at 122.2. Right, but Mesa is a very big city, and this is on the outskirts of Mesa, almost after Apache Junction. All right, that's why I'm not really too focused. Okay, on we can go find another property if we have to. I don't want to put my clients in a bad roof. All right, so yesterday I'm looking at my buyers and stuff like that. I'm like, hey, if she doesn't break on the roof, I don't think this is a good house for you. I really don't. There's a lot of work here that needs to be done. A lot of them is those little honeydew list things. All right. And the honeydew list things are tighten this up. We need to replace this. Now, the woman involved, the woman buyer, she has like a lot of family members who have a lot of skills. All right. So she's got like plumbers who can do plumber stuff. She's got carpenters who can do carpenter stuff. So she's not too concerned about that kind of stuff. But what she is concerned about is the big ticket items. So we'll have to see how this one plays out. All right. But it's interesting the comparing and contrasting between the two and how, like I said, you have to have the skill set. Some people are just buyer's agents, right? They're all about the buyer's agents, right? They don't like handling listings, right? Some people are just listing agents. They don't like interacting with people, right? I think it's good to have skills on both sides and be a well-rounded, Renaissance kind of realtor. All right. But, you have to remember where are we at? What's the game? What's the context? All right. So I really hope both of these things are going to work out. I think the agent on the other side on the roof thing is coming around to the roof thing. It's just it's going to have to happen. It's just wait, who pays for it. That'll be fun to watch. On the other side of that, the offer that we got in, like I said, they're just nickel and diming us from the bottom up, which is completely runs contrary to how I write an offer. Okay, it's not like every offer I make is best and highest. All right. But it's usually pretty damn close. If my clients want the house, all right. I'm talking to my clients right now on the purchase side, and I'm okay. So there's a little confidentiality, all right. But there's an element going on over there that I was not aware of, which actually would have sort of changed how I dealt with these things. But it's like, you sit there and like, why are we hyper focused on this for some reason? Oh, you got this going on. That makes sense, right? She was really interested in getting her kids into the school, in the same school district. All right. This house is outside of the school district. All right. Because she liked the house. All right. So, all right. That's a want, not necessarily a need. All right. Like everything I always say, all right. You want the fireplace. You need a roof. All right. Big difference between those two. So maybe next week I'll be able to let you know how this whole thing plays out. All right. So, and the other thing I don't like about this whole thing is that pull, the whole backyard and everything like that. No sliding gates or no auto closing anything, which means I'm literally lecturing you were watching your children and pets around this pool. Seriously. All right. And like everything else, all right, we're not driving in anything flooded out, though I'm afraid we're done with the rain this spring. Work your circles every day. You guys have a great weekend, and stay tuned to this channel to see how the saga of these two deals go. Talk to you later.